And if you want to, we can switch over to the LangChain Open Agent platform, and I'll just drop a nice little transition. Is that um, it's not directly listed on the Open Agent platform project, but they have a universal tool server. And what that does, the idea is very similar to what I was just talking about. It's like a registry essentially. So in Open Agent platform, instead of manually configuring a bunch of your servers, you register your MCP servers with the tool server, and then in your on the agent side, you just give them one link, and that's to your tool server. So very different than how we're managing it today. And you can go out there, and it's very easy to set up. Go ahead.
Is this new? Like, has this been around for a while? Or is Universal Tool Server?
This is another thing I haven't seen any announcements about it. I'm sure they have, but I just found this by I guess I'm
Packages.
like super nerd because I just go scan GitHub, and that's how
Yeah, well, the last
find these
update was
things.
last week, but it's, some of these things were committed 3 months ago, so it must have been around for a while. But yeah, it's got hardly any stars. This is cool.
Right. So you'll
There's so
see
much the LangChain like ecosystem. There's just so much stuff.
it is. It is. Yeah. So it doesn't, I don't believe it directly, these two projects reference each other anywhere, but they're directly connected. So I'll jump over to Open Agent platform.
Yeah. It's probably worth setting up Open Agent platform released by LangChain or LangChain team. The whole idea behind this is they have their open source packages and then their products on top of them. Their goal is to basically make agents ubiquitous all the way through, life and the economy and work everywhere. That's the whole idea. So part of that, they said, is like they have good developer adoption of their different tooling. But one of the things that they don't really have as much of is this, people like me, slightly outside of the core developer group, like yourself, Cameron, I'd say you're a core developer, or I'm like developer adjacent, got some skills, but it's still not that easy for someone with not as many technical skills to get started on LangChain. And then there's another group outside of that they call the citizen developer group, which is basically people who want to build agents, maybe solve some problems that need to be enabled with more consumer-like tools. And so these initiatives are sort of aimed at making it easier and clearer for people to get started with agents. So someone who's a core developer might enable something like this, an open agent platform, internally within their business, whatever. And then you can get some of those developer adjacent people to come in and start building agents and creating those things and working as a team. So that's the whole intent, right?
Yeah, nailed it. I also think it's good for developers too. I've already started using this for rapid prototyping and proof of concept type of ideas. So I don't think it's necessarily limited to just the citizen developer, but of course that's what it's aimed at. But what we have is a full stack, just all the basic components that you typically build separately, all wrapped into, well, I shouldn't say one package. It's actually 3 different GitHub projects, I believe, to set this up. But essentially, it's everything wrapped together that you need for that basic laying the foundation. And tools are a big part of that. So they've integrated the MCP with streamable HTTP directly into this Open Agent platform, which is amazing. So, Tom, I don't know, have you played with it at all?
I played briefly with the hosted version. So there's a hosted version that you can just go and muck around with. And then I started going down the path of setting it up. Once I got through like the first repo, and then I started setting up the secondary repos for the agents. So you have like the agents in there, then loaded it up into my LangGraph account. Once I got to that point, I was like, I think Cameron needs to show this off, not me.
Yeah. So this is the hosted version, and you'll notice at the top it says demo. But this is awesome because you don't have to set anything up. You just go to oap.langchain.com, create a login, and then you can start creating your agents. So what they've done is they put out a templated supervisor agent and a templated React agent that you use as a template. So you can customize that template. In my case, I've just deployed the standard and then relied on adding tools. Um, but it's a pretty, I think, I guess it depends on the person, but I think this is a pretty intuitive, straightforward interface in comparison to a lot of the other things I've seen. Um, but what this, you'll see that I've already created some custom agents. It starts off blank, but to create your agents, you just click new agent, and then you have the standard fields to fill in, like a lot of them, your name, your description, what model you want to use. So you can configure this. Well, you could technically configure it with any models that you'd like, but out of the box, natively, it's Anthropic and OpenAI integrations. So you set all your criteria, create a system prompt, and then the real game changer here. These are your MCP tools. So, man, there's not enough time because the arcade. We've talked about arcade, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Arcade,
So
the MCP kind of integrator toolkit. It's a paid tool, but yeah.
right. So what they've deployed in the demo version is an arcade server that hosts all of these tools. And this is not included in the, if you go deploy this yourself, you'll have to figure out how to set this up. It's not in the instructions, but they give you a little taste of it here. So this is one MCP server that provides the orchestration and integration for whatever providers that you'd like. So this is a actually really really long list. There are a lot of cool tools in here. All the way from Notion to, I mean, there's even Microsoft. You can send emails, draft emails. You can set different permissions. If you don't want it to accidentally send emails. So just out of the box on this demo, you can, if you're creative, you can create some really powerful things.
That's really cool.
With zero code. People say no code, and in my opinion, a lot of those no code solutions are still pretty complicated. In fact, for me, sometimes I'm like, it's just easier to write the code than navigate this weird GUI,
Yeah. Well, I think what would be, do you want to, this is all the tools. Yeah, cool.
Yep. So these are all the different tools. Of course, you can click on, you can get a little bit of information about the tool call name and what that does, or you can just test out that tool specifically. And then the RAG. Have you ever built a RAG system? Yeah. So there are quite a few different steps there, as far as all the way from like the chunking and splitting to vectorization, how you store it. I mean, there's a lot of design details, and there's out of the box templates you can use. But if you're really trying to do something domain specific and customized, that's a project in itself. So here they've deployed a RAG server. That's one component of this, and it's literally create a collection, and then you can upload your files, and it takes care of those embeddings. And then you give your agents access to that.
So it comes with an embedding tool, or you have to use like the OpenAI, you use the OpenAI embeddings model and then push it to like you have to set up a local data store, Mongo or Pinecone or pgvector or something like that.
It's using OpenAI embeddings out of the box, but where LangChain started is providing that flexibility. That's their entire thing, right? So you can customize it to use, say, if you wanted to use Ollama local embeddings, or
actually, I think, wasn't it this tool set up when I was going through the workflow processes that you have to have a Superbase? I think you have to have a Superbase account linked to this to do the authentication. So you can have users log in, but it's all synced up to
I'm glad
Superbase. You can customize it, but then you have to build your own stuff on top.
Exactly. There's just too much here, Tom. You're exactly right. integration with Supabase out of the box, and then you can customize that. If you've ever built integration or authentication, done anything with authentication, it's can get really messy. It's really hard. So they provided this out of the box. So in this case, you just set up a Supabase account, you get the API key, and then it automatically connects and takes care of everything in the background. So it makes it super easy for
This
that.
is awesome.
I was talking about the RAG collections. So these are, you'll notice, these are the same collections that I created manually, and I had some documents uploaded there. So you control, if I wanted this new agent to have access only to QuickBooks, then I assign it there. Now, this is a demo environment. One thing that I've already run into is if you change your vector stores or you like delete them, you have to go, and actually the same goes for tools. You have to reconfigure each one of those agents. And so in the self-deployed, self-hosted version, they have scripts that you have to run to update the agents. So quick note on that. So Tom, on this hosted version, I was trying to get really crazy, and I wanted to show, I wanted to highlight that you can still set up essentially sub agents. The part you don't have in the demo is the visibility into the graph visualizations and tracing in the background. So with this version, you can't log into LangSmith and see all those traces and everything. That's hosted on their side. But if you deploy your own agents and then connect, then you can. And I'll show that. So I have a self-hosted version.
Well,
but
I guess
set up was this build supervisor. Let me see if I can
keep pulling that up. I guess the idea of this is if you're going to use it as a tool would be you as the developer can manage agents that you've created, push them, host them on LangGraph Cloud, and then publish them to this interface where business users could then go and build more detailed or extensions of those agents, right? So they won't be able to see the tracing, but this is like but you could still manage all that stuff as a developer in the background.
Exactly. So in this instance, you don't have it doesn't make it easy to see visually, but I have what I call build supervisor. So I uploaded some docs related to our podcast and things like that. This is like the master supervisor. And so when you configure your supervisor agents down here at the bottom, you select which agents that supervisor controls or is the supervisor of. And you'll notice I created a research supervisor separately. So the research supervisor orchestrates a set of 3 agents that do specialized processes for research. So it's like essentially like a subgraph, right? A supervisor orchestrating another supervisor, and you can have groups. But that's once you start going that direction, you really need to be able to see things. So,
well, do you mind opening that again so we can check out the system prompt a little bit? But yeah, so the idea of that is you can interact with it and then enable it with tools that are effectively agents, but also other agents that execute certain predefined scopes of work. And then you in the back end have a LangGraph set up where you defined the nodes and like basically define the graph, I assume. That's cool. This is sick, mate. I might have to get you to set up a build agent, open agent instance for me so I can play with it.
That's what I did. So yeah, we can talk about that.
I already did that, you idiot.
Demos.build. Yep. So just to show the self-hosted version. So like I said, I'll try to pull up. If you go to the quick start, you'll notice you start going through these directions, and there are 3 different projects. So you have the Open Agent Platform repository, but it doesn't have a lot of instructions on it. It's really the quick start guide. On here, you'll notice LangConnect. So LangConnect is the RAG server. So you have to deploy that separately. The good thing is it's pretty straightforward to set up. This runs in Docker. So in my instance, just at my house for testing, I set up a server for this like a separate dedicated server running on Docker. Okay. Tom, are you interested in walking through any of the details for like how to set this up? I didn't necessarily think we'd go through like a step by step, but
No, I think that's enough. Unless you want to dive into it more.
I think it's pretty straightforward, and
Yeah.
they've done a pretty good job with the documentation here on this one. But just to show the difference, you'll notice. So this is my self-hosted version, localhost. But it's the same. It's the same thing. But now, if I go over to LangSmith, okay, I was just going to show the LangSmith LangGraph side of this on the self deployed version. So you'll see I have OAP tools agent and an OAP supervisor. These are just the pre-built that they put out there. Technically, you should be able to deploy these in one graph, but the instructions set them up separately. I think there are pros and cons to both
Do you want to just
approaches.
open?
And yeah, I
Do you
plan
want to
to
open one of those in the studio just to preview it?
let's do the supervisor. This is the view that you're talking about in the studio.
Yeah.
So
I don't think not many people can actually go and use this. Like just go and actually visualize the agents that they're building. I think it's one of the best parts of it.
Yeah, and this is a development tool, right? So
Yeah.
You talked about citizen developers. You're probably not going to be doing much on this side, but this is a really powerful tool while you're designing your agents. You can visualize the whole workflow. So I'll say, call deep research or deep wiki. I guess this is. I showed the OpenAI playground. It's really pretty much the same thing as far as this part goes.
Yeah, and it's this fine-grained kind of interaction. Once you get very complicated graphs, very complicated interactions, that's the key, right?
Yep.
You can see the number of tenants, you see what it's doing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's odd. That's like the exact same thing that I just typed. So again, this is pretty much stock out of the box. There's still prompt engineering that you need to do to make this really work. But let's try that again. So this is the user interface side, web interface. If you deploy it out to people, this is what they see. On the back side, let me just try that same one again. This is the tool you can use to develop on. And if you have tools added, see how it just jumps and expanded the supervisor node. It's really cool when you have multi-agent graphs and subgraphs to see that expansion, and it really helps me out quite a bit. So
yeah.
in classic demo form, that's a weird.
I don't have deep wiki. That's great. That's okay.
Oh,
you get the idea.
No. You know what? That actually makes sense because, that's interesting because your MCP servers are connected to the OAP. I guess like the main interface, the orchestrator,
right? But not the actual individual agent on LangGraph LangGraph Cloud.
Right. So that actually makes sense. So, see, with these things, there's so many. There can be a lot of nuances, and that really impact the way that you design these systems. No, my internet's running slow apparently, or something. But
what I love over there is like you can see the counts, right, and the tracing.
Right.
So immediately you've got stats on the individual agents. You can see the costs. Yeah.
So it'll take a second to load, but here's what we'll see in the background. It delegated to the deep wiki agent, transferred over there, used the deep wiki to read wiki structure tool, and then passes it back to the supervisor. Like, okay, I'm done. I did my job. What's next? And then if you have additional agents, this is where you can start building out workflows. And if you want to take it as far as you can even like statically program things in the system prompts to make an automatic workflow that continues to run. That's all possible even in this no code version. Okay, so this is the tracing that we were attempting to look at, and you'll see all the details. And in this instance, this is just for the tools agent. And that's where, in some cases, that might be good if you only want to see the work of individual agents. A lot of cases, I set things up so I can see the entire process. But of course, if you're deploying really complex architectures, then you might want it separated out. And then from here, this is not part of it necessarily, but the LangSmith, this is where you can take those traces and create data sets to do your evaluations. And
Yeah.
that's
I want
really,
to do
really cool.
a big deep dive on that. I think we should do that
Yep.
sooner rather than later, because it's such a core part of building these agentic apps. I know everyone's talking about it, but it's very true. That's great, man. Thanks for showing me that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just to be clear on those agents you were showing on LangSmith, right? Back here, so this one or whatever, second opinion OAP supervisor. Those calls, so those runs, that's for an open, those metrics are not all you, right? Well, they are.
What do you mean they're all me?
Have you forked the second opinion OAP supervisor? Is that a forked kind of agent GitHub repo that you've forked? Or have you actually put 31 million tokens through it? On the right-hand side there.
Holy shit. I didn't even notice that. Is that right?
$78. So 31 million tokens is a lot. So it's been run 19.
But I have not even, I set this version last night. I have not run that much. That can't be right.
So that's sort of what, is it like a LangSmith tracing, is it shared? Are those metrics shared? Because it's a shared repo? Because it's just a dummy example one, right? Or if it's yours,
no,
you might want to get on that.
It wouldn't work that way because it's all tied to threads.
Right. Okay. So it is you.
Well, I'll let you know what I find out. But that's
another reason why using LangSmith is good.
I don't believe
Did you see that they've got those alerts as well? So you can set up alerts on these things?
I don't believe that that's true. That cannot be. A good call out. I don't know. I don't know what's going on here, man. Blame it on the Windows, I guess.
It's all right. Do you want to transition to talking about agents? Agent. Yeah. That was a sick demo. Thank you.
And so, I didn't share. I have quite a few things related to that I believe I can put on public on GitHub. So if people want to experiment, might make it a little bit easier. But maybe even this demo environment, maybe we'll set that up on the .build, let people play with it.
Yeah, that'd be great. In the comments, we got a couple of comments back this week, and one of the guys from the LangChain community said that some of our links were busted. So sorry about that. I will fix all of those up, and we'll put all of the links into the show notes so you can go and play with this stuff.